Brian Von Vier here, back at it again, ready to ask all of you a very important question. DMs of Reddit, YouTube, anywhere and anywhere, what have you banned or restricted and felt completely justified in doing so? Part 4. Starting it off, it didn't take long. Sex. Ben, we are both heterosexual males. You're my friend, but I'm not going to roleplay sex acts while my girlfriend is sitting next to me. Wait, what if she wasn't sitting next to you? Now we have questions, dude. Joke characters. Unless it's a one-shot, and even then, I expect your character to be more than just a stupid pun. Making a Goliath who can go invisible and calling him John Cena is funny for at most 30 minutes of playing. After that, you need some motivation and engagement. I was a player at a table that banned Twilight Cleric. Then I played a Twilight Cleric in an online game and understood why. Can someone explain this to me in the comments, please? Why? No one can own a cat in any of my games. They know why. Do I really want to read this as a cat dad? I'd love to hear the story. Just guessing, but I'd wager on the classic PC regularly used his pet in combat and couldn't believe it when the DM allowed an enemy to kill his cat. Oh, I lost count of how many times I had to explain, even to veteran players, that a pet is not a familiar. They're there for flavor and can't understand complex tasks. You can barely tell your cat to get off the couch. Imagine asking for help or directing them to flank an enemy. True story from a game I ran. A druid and his cat in Kragmaw hideout. What do you mean my cat can't understand my order? Okay, I cast Speak with Animals. Cat, peek into that room and tell me how many goblins are there. Wait! You speak so clearly now, why didn't you? No, focus. Goblins. How many? What's, goblins? What? It's, wait! Pupils narrowing to slits. I think I saw a fly. Starts playing with the fly. Well, that could have gone worse, and thank God it didn't. Generally, the only thing I ban is the player characters being hostile to each other. My DM has a rule that any hostile actions towards PCs have to be done with consent. It works for us. This is also my rule. As long as they consent and understand there will be consequences, it seems fine to me. We haven't had any personal feelings hurt that I'm aware of, and the table seems to enjoy it. Not rules banned, but roleplay bans on topics the players and I decide we're not comfortable with. So far, it's gratuitous sexuality and domestic violence and the like. There is also some stuff that we don't mind, but don't want acted out at the table. They can still try and get laid in the tavern, the interaction just isn't played out and we just state that it happened. For all you naysayers who think I'm a spoil sport for not doing ERP at the table, note that my brother plays at the table too. There are bridges you don't cross. My DM plays it the same way. He makes it clear that the NPC is DTF, which is down to, if for anyone out there who doesn't know what that means, then everything fades to black and anything that happened is implied. I think that's a good way to do it. I don't want to sit and discuss graphic sex with a bunch of dudes. Yeah, I agree with all of that, all of the above. That is what Session 0 is for, right? If there are things the DM or a player or multiple players are not comfortable with, it is right to now allow those at your table. I wouldn't call it outright banning, just more so setting boundaries. And you and your players are not strange or spoil sports for it. It's just healthy communication. Yeah, I agree. If you need to get rid of certain things because y'all aren't comfortable with it, one or more of you, do so in the very beginning or as a prerequisite before joining or hosting a game. It's always smart to have a little bit of a, what would you call it? A forum to fill out, so to speak. Greg. He knows what he did. To be on the safe side, I will refuse entry to any of my games to anyone called Greg. I am trusting you that this bigotry has good cost. To be fair, Greg is fine. It's Greg that you need to watch out for. No, the other Greg. This is the problem with being a ride or die bigot. Innocent Gregs get caught up because of one Greg. Maybe I need to have a 2-part questionnaire. Is your name Greg? Fine. But are you Greg? What's wrong with Greg? What about Gregs with 2 G's? I played a Greg with 3 G's, all right? I'm a good Greg. I was a half-orc Greg. Come on now. This is segregation. PvP of any sort is banned unless explicitly agreed to out of character by all parties involved, subject to DM approval, and the DM reserves the right to revoke retcon anything that happens at their sole discretion. PvP is not conducive to a team-based game. And I have one banned build. Combine any 3 of these 4 things and rocks will fall, you will die. Okay, not you, but your character. Though I will be having thoughts about killing you as a player. Excuse me. Roll a new character. Halfling, Divination Wizard, Lucky Feet, Silvery Barbs. Any one of those things is fine. 2, and I'll give you a stern look, but I'll allow it. 3 or more? Nope. I call this Bruno, and we do not talk about Bruno. Eloquence Bard. All social interactions become monopolized in one player, and a lot of players think that a high persuasion check should be treated as mind control. It just creates a lot of problems. Now, I agree with the second part, but because persuasion is a vital skill in D&D, someone in the party has to be the face. Of course, that shouldn't mean only one person can talk. Other players should give their opinions and help the face make the right argument. It's less that I'm opposed to the idea of a face character in the group that does most social roles because of its high bonus, and more that I'm opposed to someone having a minimum roll of 21 forcing all other players to peace out during conversations. Variable DC is a thing. A barbarian chieftain might not be swayed by a persuasion roll of 25 from some effete, smooth-talking city dweller, but would respect a persuasion 15 check from a fellow warrior. A magistrate or city guard who might be expecting deception from a silver-tongued trickster might not pick up on a lie from a party member who seems too honest or too dumb to concoct one. And someone who hates the bard's guts, a spurned ex-lover, a betrayed former partner, a merchant he once cheated, isn't going to yield for him even if he rolls a 40. This isn't something you can pull out in all situations, but if your party's bard is steamrolling through all social checks, it's okay to give them a speed bump. I actually really agree with that method. That's really nifty. I'm aware, but like how flying races forces you to have a plan for it every encounter, the Eloquence Bard is something to be accounted for in every social encounter. If I'm having to adjust the whole game to actively counter one ability, it's best for me to just take that option away. There is also an inherent frustration in feeling actively countered by your DM that I feel is better avoided altogether. No official content is banned. Plenty of bad third-party or homebrew stuff is banned, however. That stuff defaults to banned and only gets whitelisted by specific agreements. Tons of narrative stuff is banned. My game is not a torture porn or gore porn game. My game is not about sexual violence. My game is not PvP. Well, my current one isn't anyway. Try any of that and immediately you're getting banned from the table. I don't allow silvery barbs since it has proven not to be balanced in games I've run. I haven't banned silvery barbs, but I do hate it simply because it's so unfun. Ha ha, that's a 23 and you're gonna... Silvery barbs. Well, never mind, screw my idea. In one of my games, I allowed silvery barbs. Then I threw an encounter at my players where the enemies had silvery barbs, counterspell, and portent. They learned real quick how unfun, cough, cough, it is to be on the receiving end of all of that. They don't use silvery barbs anymore. Lolies! But how will I play my 800-year-old cursed gnome anime.issues? Well, here's what you're gonna do. Not play that, Jared. I banned the mass summoning spells. Technically, I restrict the players to player handbook races. I banned setting specific spells and feats, see Renvinka, Strixhaven, etc. I agree on summoning. I don't ban the spells, but I strongly discourage them. I've explained to my group that the spells bog down and complicate combat. The ultimatum is, if you want to use summons, you have to have the stats for whatever you summon, and you get to keep track of all their HP, concentrations, and initiative. Most players change their mind when they realize what's involved. There are some rules for swarm of thing. You can make mass summon spells summon a single swarm rather than a bunch of individual things. And at this point, use the logic from something like a swarm of rats and just scale it up to fit your needs. Yeah, I also agree with this. If you have a lot of summoned creatures, be it skeletons or zombies or whatever, make them a group. Group them up in groups of 5, add them all together, and then just roleplay. If you do enough damage, one drops, another drops, and so on and so forth. Rules lawyering against rule of cool. Our DM will actively make your personal game harder if you try to, well, actually, something awesome that someone wants to try. Yeah, we've had somebody like that in a game that I played once. I don't like those people at all. I don't really ban anything, I just simply ask you to make it make sense. If you can do that, you're good regardless of the setting. Mostly this. I encourage players to try all kinds of stuff that I don't think of. I just need you to work with me on why it meshes with the game. Simple enough. As a new DM, I have a really hard time with races that can fly, so I ask my players if we're doing a long campaign to pick a race that doesn't fly. That and guns. I like my campaigns to be super fantasy settings, and I just don't like the flavor of guns because it reminds me too much of the real world. Artificers are completely fine though, I just ask that they flavor their weapons differently. I think the ability to fly is perfectly reasonable if the player uses it in moderation, though if it gets to the point of cheesy tactics, then I get it. It really depends on the type of players at the table. I have a reskinned winged tiefling that is half baby Null. The character has the mind of a child and is not fully aware of his wings, so they rarely think of using them. The character often tries to climb with a below average athletics. His companions aren't even aware he has wings because he is constantly covering them. They honestly just think he has a hunchback. The lucky feat. I hate it with a burning passion! My DM feels the same way after my buddy started using it. All the hate on lucky seems really weird. Right, 3 times per long rest you can roll a d20 and either use the newly rolled d20 or the original roll for an attack, saving throw, or an ability check. Alternatively, do it with the enemy's attack against you. If you take this, it means you're sacrificing ASI or another feat that could be more impactful. I have no issue with lucky personally. I've even used it before when I created a divination wizard with the lucky feat. This was before Chronergy was released, and I was creating a time magic wizard. Lucky and everything else was flavored as me slowing down time or whatever. It was very fun and a cool theme to explore. The only part of Lucky that I do not agree with is how it interacts with disadvantage. The way Lucky works is, after you've rolled but before the outcome, you can choose to use Lucky and then choose which die you use. So, for example, if you roll your attack at disadvantage, you roll 2d20 and use the lowest. Lucky overrides this and allows you to pick which dice to use. So, having disadvantage and using Lucky essentially turns it into super advantage. This is the intended mechanic as well as per sage advice. I'm not opposed to a player using this exploit, quote unquote, but it just makes for awkward situations where the optimal way to attack with Lucky is very likely to close your eyes and swing, imposing disadvantage just to turn it into super advantage with Lucky. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and of course, down in the comments below, let us know what you have banned or restricted and felt completely justified in doing so at the table. We love you all. Be safe, be happy. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.